Alright, so let's take a look at a new module that I've created called BulkHoot. And you can use it to help automate your Twitter feed via a website called HootSuite.com. And it's a social media management website, and it allows you to upload a file of tweets with specific times so that it can automate your Twitter feed. And it's a pain to create this file to upload by hand. So I've created a commandlet that can assist in this. So let's take a real quick look at how to import a module. You want to look at your PS module path, and you'll see that I have two paths here. I have my local path and I have the global path, and I have this module in my local path, and you need to create a folder with the same name as the module file. So I have BulkHoot here, and this is the module itself. It has to have an M in the extension, so BulkHoot and the folder name BulkHoot. So now I can import this module into PowerShell, and it will stay there so that I can use it over and over again. So let's import BulkHoot. That was simple enough. So now I have access to it. And before we get into the commandlet, I just want to show you that I did include lots of help information for this commandlet. So if you ever need to try and remember how to do something, you can use get help with the commandlet name, and let's look at the full. And I have a bunch of examples here of how to use the commandlets, what they do, a little bit of extra info. All the parameters are filled out. So if you don't use it often, you can still use the help file and figure out how things work in case you get in trouble. So really, you don't even need to see the rest of this video. You could just go get the code right now and start hacking away at it. But for everybody else that wants to see how it's done, let's go ahead and get started. So the commandlet is called BulkHoot, new BulkHoot, and you don't need to provide any parameters if you don't want to. When you run it, it's just going to create a blank framework that they require for uploading those files. And you'll notice that there are three different columns here. And one thing to note as well is that it puts it in the correct encoding, UTF-8. If you have this in the wrong encoding, BulkHoot or HootSuite will complain. It will give you an error, and it won't tell you why it won't let you upload the file. I know it was a problem for me and a problem for a lot of people. If you do it in something like Excel or Word, it might save it in like an ANSI format, and then HootSuite will just complain. So this creates the proper encoding, and it's got a framework where you can just add it all in. And also, there's a limit of 50 items per file that you upload. So it's just saves it to your desktop with a random, or not a random file. It's the name BulkHoot with a date and timestamp of when it was created. I don't think that's going to conflict with anything on your desktop. So this is just a blank framework. So you can add your date and time in this column. You can add your tweet in this column, and if you want to add a link, you can put it in this column. So that creates a really simple way to format this file. But another pain with creating these files is including the date and the time, because it has to be in a specific format as well. So let's look at how we can add the time simply. Oh, well, let me show you first. You can create a path if you want, and supply it a specific path so that you don't have to use that save to your desktop with the timestamp sort of deal. So this is going to create a file called test.csv on my desktop, and we're going to use that one going forward. So that's a parameter that you can remember, and we don't need the whole thing. So we want to include the time, and we can use the include time parameter, run that, and when we come back into this file, you'll notice that it has generated the time in here. So let's talk about the formatting of this file a little bit more. They say that the first tweet has to be at least 15 minutes ahead of the time that you're uploading. So in this module, I have it set to put the first tweet 20 minutes ahead, so it gives you a little bit of time to add stuff. If you want to give yourself more time, you can just delete the first row, and that'll initially give you an extra half an hour, because they're set as half-hour intervals. and you can change this as well if you want. So there's different ways to edit that. And also the minute column has to end with a 0 or a 5, and you'll see this change between 0 and 5 depending on when you run it. So you don't have to really worry about that stuff. The module or the commandlet is going to worry about that for you. It's going to put the proper time in. It's going to make sure that it's ahead enough for you to get them out. And you'll also notice that it did not generate a full 50 items. It stops before the new day comes, and that's done intentionally. If you want it to continue going on into the next day, you can say ignore day change, and when we run that, you'll see that it's going to continue into the next day. So it's going to generate a full 50 items here. So now you can just add your tweets in this column, and you can add a link related to it in this column, and you can go ahead and upload it on your merry little tweeter automating way. Let's take a look at another section here. If you want to change the intervals, right now the default is half-an-hour intervals. We can change that as well by using the parameter tweet interval. So let's say we want them to be 60 minutes apart. We just put a 60 in there, open it up, and now you'll see that they're an hour apart, and we have 3 days extending into 3 days of tweets here. And one thing to note is that this has to be ending with a 0 or a 5 as well. It will complain if it's not, so you don't have to worry about messing up your upload there. What if you want to reduce the number from 50? You don't have to put 50 there. We can use limits and limit it to something else. So let's say 30. Run that, come back up here, and now we only have 30 items. So those are some of the parameters that you can use together to manually create this file and include the time in there as well. And all you have to worry about is adding in the tweets and the links if you have any. You can upload this and continue going. But let's say that you want to quickly generate a full day of tweets. So this right now with these parameters, it starts with today, and it starts just ahead enough. We have another parameter here that you can use with include time called new day, and when we run that, you'll see that it starts with the next day, and it goes from midnight every half an hour, and it stops just before the next day. So you have two spaces here for 2 more tweets if you want to add them in. You can also change the tweet intervals, and you can also change the limit as well with this. But let's say that you want to create multiple days. You can upload more than one file. You don't just have to do one file. It simply has a 50 tweet limit per file. So we can use another parameter with new day called set date, and you have to make sure that you enter in a proper date with this, so you can't mess it up. Remember that it's in month, day, year format. So I can put, if I put 12/45/12, it's going to complain and it's going to tell me the format that I need to use. But if I put something proper in there, let's do 12/12/12, come back up here, refresh, and it starts from midnight, creates a full day of tweets, and separates them every half an hour. You can still use interval and have it spread out. You can limit it as well. So that's all I have right now. It's not perfect, but it does allow you to quickly create the framework with the proper encoding so that you can just worry about adding your tweets in there and then uploading the file. If you want to go ahead and manually update some of this stuff, you can do it as well, but it just quickly gets it out there, and all you have to use is a text editor. So that's all I have for now. I have a lot of other ideas and things that I'm going to improve and add to this, so if you do use it, if you do find it to be useful, check back later and maybe I'll have some more with this. But that's all we have for now, and this is something that I've been using, and it's been good enough. and for free, without having to worry about other sorts of applications that can be used with this that people have created for creating these bulk hoots. You need other applications like Office or a Google account, but this is on every Windows system, and it's just ready to go. You can add it to PowerShell, pull up the console, create your sheets. Excuse me. And you're ready to go. So that's it. The BulkHoot module. Thanks for watching.